This episode is brought to you by Tonal. That's Tonal. Tonal is the world's most intelligent home gym and personal trainer. That's the tagline from their website, folks. So it gives you the one-sentence summary. By eliminating traditional metal weights, Tonal can deliver 200 pounds of resistance in a device smaller than a flat-screen TV. It mounts right on your wall with no floor space required. I've had one for a few months now after a number of close friends recommended Tonal to me, and it allows me to do things that I would normally need a huge gym for, like cable, chop and lift, or rotational exercises, and it allows me to do other things that are nearly impossible otherwise, like eccentric loading, which I'll talk about again later. Tonal is precision engineered and designed to be the world's most advanced strength studio and personal trainer. It uses breakthrough technology like adaptive digital weights and AI learning together with the best experts in resistance training so you can get stronger faster. One of my friends who used to be a competitive skier, very high-level competitive skier, has doubled his strength in many exercises over a period of months. So what are these adaptive digital weights? Tonal's patented digital weight system makes thousands of calculations a second to deliver you a smooth weightlifting experience using their advanced electronic motor technology. And a lot of the buttons are built right into the handles themselves, into the grips. So you don't need to move around, and it is extremely easy to use. Tonal lets you adjust the weight in 1 pound increments, and you can do it on the fly, something that was never possible with traditional dumbbells. It's easy to dial weights up and down with just the touch of a button. Tonal also has built-in dynamic weight modes, like chains, eccentric, and their patent-pending SmartFlex technology. So you can experiment with more ways to get stronger faster without the hassle of extra equipment like chains and bands. The eccentrics, which I mentioned, means that you can set a mode that allows you to say, just as an example, bicep curl 15 pounds up and then lower automatically 25 pounds down. And it is incredible how much you can get done in just a handful of minutes when you use this type of technology. So check it out. Try Tonal, Tonal, the world's smartest home gym, for 30 days in your home. And if you don't love it, you can return it for a full refund. Visit www.tonal.com, Tonal.com, and for a limited time, get $100 off of smart accessories when you use promo code TIM21. Like I'm ready for my first drink at checkout. That's www.tonal.com, promo code TIM21, TIM21. Tonal, be your strongest. This episode is brought to you by Theragun. I have 2 Theraguns, and they are worth their weight in gold. I've been using them every single day. Whether you're an elite athlete or just a regular person trying to get through your day, muscle pain and muscle tension are real things. That's why I use the Theragun. I use it at night. I use it after workouts. It is a handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension. So for instance, at night, I might use it on the bottom of my feet. It's helped with my plantar fasciitis. I will have my girlfriend use it up and down the middle of my back, and I'll use it on her. It's an easy way for us to actually trade massages, in effect. And you can think of it, in fact, as massage reinvented on some level. Helps with performance, helps with recovery, helps with just getting your back to feel better before bed after you've been sitting for way too many hours. I love this thing. And the all-new Gen 4 Theragun has a proprietary brushless motor that is surprisingly quiet. It's easy to use and about as quiet as an electric toothbrush. It's pretty astonishing. You really have to feel the Theragun's signature power, amplitude, and effectiveness to believe it. It's one of my favorite gadgets in my house at this point. So I encourage you to check it out. Try Theragun. That's Thera, Theragun. There's no substitute for the Gen 4 Theragun with an OLED screen. That's OLED, for those wondering. That's organic light-emitting diode screen, personalized Theragun app, and an incredible combination of quiet and power. So go to Theragun.com/Tim right now and get your Gen 4 Theragun today. Or you can watch the videos on the site, which show you all sorts of different ways to use it. A lot of runner friends of mine use them on their IT bands after long runs. There are a million ways to use it. And the Gen 4 Theraguns start at just $199. I said I have 2. I have the Prime, and I also have the Pro, which is like the super Cadillac version. My girlfriend loves the soft attachments on that. So check it out. Go to Theragun.com/Tim. One more time, Theragun.com/Tim. Optimal minimal.
At this altitude, I can run flat out for a half mile before my hands start shaking.
Can I ask you a personal question? Now would seem an appropriate time.
What if I did the opposite?
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton.
Hello, boys and girls, ladies and germs. This is Tim Ferriss. Welcome to another episode of the Tim Ferriss Show. I'm nervous. I'll explain why I'm nervous in a minute. My guest, he's a very friendly fellow. He's not trying to make me nervous. His name is Chris Bosh, on Twitter at Chris Bosh. He fell in love with basketball at an early age and earned the prestigious Mr. Basketball title while still in high school. That was at Lincoln High School in Dallas, Texas, not far from where we are sitting in Austin, Texas. A McDonald's All-American, Bosh was selected 4th overall by the Toronto Raptors after 1 year of attending Georgia Tech. By the end of his basketball career, he was an 11-time, that's more fingers than you have, folks, 11-time NBA All-Star, 2-time champion, and the NBA's first global ambassador of basketball. In March of 2019, Bosh's number 1 jersey was officially retired for the Miami Heat. In addition to his basketball career, Bosh founded the community uplift organization Team Tomorrow in 2010 and regularly speaks to youth about the benefits of reading, coding, and leadership. Bosh, his wife Adrienne, and their 5 children reside here in Austin, Texas. His new book is Letters to a Young Athlete, which includes a foreword by Pat Riley. Chris Bosh can be found in many places online. Twitter, as mentioned, at Chris Bosh. Instagram, at Chris Bosh. And Facebook, official Chris Bosh. Chris, CB, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, man. I'm excited to be here.
I was looking at the copious notes in front of me. I was joking that I feel like the main character in Memento. I don't like to show how the sausage is made, but this is the first in-person interview since COVID for me, really, certainly indoors. And I'm looking at this bio, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking. Did you ever go to the Olympics?
I went to the Olympics, yes.
I thought so. I may not be the best researcher, but I thought that. And how did things go at the Olympics?
Amazing.
Yeah, what was the outcome?
You know, the Olympics were one of those things. I had the time of my life there. You know, and when I mean time of my life, at that age, I was right where I was supposed to be. Back in 92, when they constructed the Dream Team together, I was just a little kid in Hutchins, Texas, watching TV. And I just thought it was cool that they had basketball on the summertime on regular TV, because, you know, you couldn't really watch TV. You had to have cable to take in as many games as possible. And I was just one of those kids. Anything basketball, I'm taking it in. And I remember just that time of the Dream Team, watching them. It was just incredible. Wait a minute, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and all these guys on the same team. I was trying to comprehend it.
The X-Men.
And, yeah, you know what I mean? And that pretty much sparked the obsession. And so every Olympics, I would watch the Olympics. We'd watch gymnastics, we'd watch track and field, we'd watch anything to do with the Olympics. And getting to take part in Beijing was quite amazing. And, you know, just to be there, taking part in the opening ceremony, but most importantly, getting to have the experience of playing basketball for my country and being able to represent the USA and win a gold medal. That was everything.
You know that you have a good bio, just for those who didn't pick up on this, when you can omit the Olympic gold medal from your bio. Just as a side note, that doesn't happen all too often. The reason I brought up the Olympics is because I had heard, I think might have been LeBron James who mentioned this, but that while other people were killing time or doing A, B, and C, playing cards, you were trying to teach yourself Spanish. And this is the type of anecdote that came up over and over again, whether related to craft beer collection and making craft beer. There were these parallel tracks. And I found that very interesting because sometimes it's the side notes that tell a lot of the main story, even though basketball is the most obvious.
Yeah.
Is that a myth? Is that true? Spanish? Did that enter the picture?
Probably true.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they would remember something like that. You know, to me, that was when you had to like have the whole 8 CD set.
Oh yeah, yeah. You had a separate bag for it.
Yeah, you got to have a whole separate carry-on. I could see that, and I forgot all about that actually. But yeah, language was always something that was just nagging at me, and I just had to do. And golly, back in '08, that would mean I had just started and I was trying to put two and two together. And I thought it was so cool that Rosetta Stone had a 8 CD packet that you could take with you and download on your computer and all that
that
stuff.
you could buy at an airport kiosk. You remember when that was a thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool because I'm like, yo, I got that. But I remember taking it with me. I always had a fascination with language, always trying to pick it up. And believe it or not, it actually getting drafted by Toronto in the beginning years. For some reason, I thought I could learn French. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn French.
No problem.
No problem. And I got up there, everybody speaks English, you know? And so it's like, you got to watch TV. And I was trying to watch TV. It just didn't happen and it didn't make any sense. And so probably a few months after that, I said, okay, I need to learn Spanish because there's more Spanish speakers in the world than there are French. So let's start there. And yeah, I started learning Spanish, and that was before I got a tutor. So I started with Rosetta Stone, and, you know, that was okay. And then I hired a tutor, and then I ended up making the move to Miami eventually, which it helped me out quite a bit. Just in the
Calle
reception.
Ocho.
Yeah, Calle Ocho.
Your shout out in Spanish.
Hey, I'm their son, you know, and they really, really loved it. But just the culture that was down in Miami, it was just really just a perfect fit. And I don't know what it was. I just had to learn languages. It's just one of those things that just calls me communicating with people, talking with people. And really, it was always beneficial because we would have teammates. I have had three teammates from Spain, 2 or 3 teammates from Spain. And you have guys coming from Europe and Africa and South America and stuff like that. So you want to be able to communicate efficiently with them, and, you know, just learning different languages and stuff like that. It's helped me quite a bit.
You can cover a lot of the globe with Spanish. You can go a lot of places. You can go a lot of places.
And it's a good beginning, right? That's a good Latin base, because then you can be like, okay, Portuguese, Italian. And
you can hop around.
Yeah, you can hop around pretty, not easily, but it could happen.
So I heard you say the words Calle Ocho in your, I don't want to say last speech, but when your jersey was put up into the rafters. So for people who don't know, and don't worry, folks, if you don't know anything about basketball, that's me too, because I have little squirrel hands. I'm very small. And during the winters when basketball was an option, I actually did not get accepted to the JV basketball team because, as the coach put it, I dribbled like a caveman. So I ended up wrestling. That's going to be my excuse for not knowing much about basketball.
Wrestling.
But we will come back to the very, 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 very building blocks of basketball in a moment. But because this is also not explicitly mentioned in your bio, could you explain for people how you came to retire, or how your basketball career came to an end? And then we're going to fill in the in-between.
Yeah. Okay, so you're 13. And it was kind of like not a long, drawn-out process, but pretty much what happened is it started with a pulmonary embolism. I ended up having a pulmonary embolism. I had chest pains, back pains, all kind of different pains. Had a collapsed left lung partially for a while, and I was still playing. I chalked it up to something else happened. Yeah. It wasn't definitely anything life-threatening, and it definitely wasn't anything that would end my season, let alone my career. But I kept playing, and we eventually, it got so bad, I went to the hospital, and I had to end up having to get a surgery. Let me see, I was in the hospital for, close to 2 weeks. It was pretty much like solitary confinement. I didn't really think about it until it was over, but I didn't leave that room for, a good 2 weeks. I had 2 tubes in my chest right here, on my ribs, on the side of my ribs, right below my chest. And I had to drag that around with me after surgery for a few days until, it got all the leakage out. And that took about a week. And then after that, I was able to recover, was able to come back and play basketball. And then that next year, we found another clot. And so pretty much when you're in a situation with blood clots and stuff like that, if you have a second blood clot, it's almost like you're radioactive. And so that pretty much was it. It was during All-Star Weekend in Toronto. I was reshaping my game. I'm a 3-point shooter now. I'm actually in a 3-point competition. I'm looking forward to my career being revitalized and still being on top of my game, still being an all-star, still performing at a high elite level. We felt that we had a team good enough to compete for a championship that year. We were second or third in the East. We're ready to go. We're right there in the driver's seat. And we unfortunately found another clot. It was a blood clot in my lower extremities. That was pretty much the end of the season. I continued to try to come back, but it just didn't happen with doctors and things like that and teams and question marks. And we found out that it's not that much research. The research has been inconclusive about athletes' blood clots and things like that. And you know, we tried, and I did try. I gave it the old college try to come back, but it just proved to be too much. And I have a family, I have children, and I had to start thinking about that. It's like the easy, tough decision to make, right?
Yeah,
you know it's right, but I just love basketball so much, and I just figured this was my time to really prove myself as for the umpteenth time to be an elite player in the world. And you know, it was just that second act or third act, rather, that didn't happen.
And was the cause ultimately, whether definitively or just tentatively, concluded to be a hereditary disease, or was it?
I did test to see if it was hereditary. It's not. I don't have the genetic markers that would mean I just have reoccurring clots. When they said that, I was like, okay, well, great.
Yeah.
It just seemed to have come out of nowhere, especially in a sport where, you know, trauma is pretty, you know, you're getting leg trauma on a nightly basis. But it's just something that I had to move past eventually. And as tough as it was, I had to move on with my life and, you know, eventually figure out how to move past it and do something else.
We'll likely come back to that at some point. I mean, just psychologically, philosophically, how you've navigated that. But
yeah, absolutely.
As promised, I want to jump back to Lincoln High School, and we are going to at some point. I'm using the royal we. I don't mean to embarrass my audience by including you in the questions I might ask about basketball. They're going to be very, very basic. But let me first ask, as we kind of segue into this, I just want to read part of this paragraph from Wikipedia because I have something related to ask about it. All right. So the 6'11" teenager, we didn't mention that yet. 6'11" teenager helped Lincoln High capture, and this, again, Wikipedia, so feel free to fact check anyway. Class 4A state title as he delivered 23 points and 17 rebounds to go along with 9 blocks. Here's the paragraph that really caught my attention. All right. Bosh was subsequently named High School Player of the Year by Basketball America, Powerade Player of the Year in Texas, a first-team All-American by Parade, McDonald's, and EA Sports, a second-team All-American by USA Today, and Slam Magazine, and it goes on and 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 on. And my question is, what was it like for you at that age to get that amount of visibility?
Yeah.
And that amount of, I suppose, fame. I mean, this is later you'd be much better known, but at that age, I think back to all the terrible decisions that I made in high school, all the terrible decisions I continue to make for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was not in any way fueled. I wouldn't have had the opportunities afforded to someone with a tremendous visibility. What was that like as a student in high school? And was there a moment when you were like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, things are going to be different.
It like continuously happened like that.
Yeah.
The thing with me is I was lucky to find the thing. Right.
Yeah.
That thing that you love. Once I found basketball, and that's one of the things that I always encourage, not only the youth, but people in general. Find that thing that you love. And, you know, people can help you get there, but only you know. And only you know that feeling, whether it's sewing, knitting, architecture, it could be anything. But for me, I found basketball pretty quickly. And in my mind, it was all supposed to happen. One of the interesting questions I get is people ask me, well, what else would you be doing? That's kind of a hard question to answer because I didn't do anything else. So it was basketball, video games, and friends. And, you know, of course, schoolwork. Anything outside of that, it really didn't get too much in my atmosphere. And so with that said, I was always able to go to practice or go to the gym, or even play basketball video games, or read the newspaper and see what the stats are and who's leading the Eastern Conference or who's leading the league in scoring, rebounding, and things of that nature. I never wanted to do anything else. Basketball was it. I grew up watching Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and of course all the other stars too, but those two guys in particular, they were always winning. As soon as I found out what basketball was, I knew who Magic Johnson, was, and huge success in the 80s, 5 championships. And then Michael Jordan is there. I watched him pretty much win 6 live. And then Kobe Bryant comes along, and he was the dude that made it real because he was a teenager doing things that Jordan did. So once that started happening, it became more obsessive. Are you familiar with Slam magazine?
I'm not, but I can imagine the subject matter, possibly.
So, Slam magazine was pretty much like the basketball magazine. And so that was like the internet,
Yeah,
So
right.
you go get your Slam magazine, and I started putting these posters on my wall of Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, all these guys, and just obsessively following the game. But they would also put in these articles with the high school talent. It was all basketball, high school, college, and pros. And so for me, with all the content I consumed, whether it was movies, whether it was watching Slam magazine, these things were supposed to happen. So when they started happening, for me, it was more like, okay, cool. I was still in my bubble.
Did you feel, in a way, because of this extreme focus on basketball, that you had identified it as like the path, your path?
Yeah.
That these things were sort of, I don't want to say ordained to happen, but you were like, if I am, in fact, destined to be on this path, like these are the following markers along that path.
That's
and therefore,
exactly the
when
word
you
I
show up
use.
yourself in
Yeah.
Slam Magazine, you were like,
Yeah. So when it's in Slam, I'm like, okay,
as it was written.
full disclosure, I didn't like the Slam article that they made of me. It's like I finally got my half page, and I'm like, that's the photo they chose. But, it was kind of those markers, getting those markers pretty much from the 9th grade on. And one of the things that was always interesting, fun fact, in our yearbook, I wasn't chosen because we had other good players as well. I wasn't chosen most likely to be in the NBA. So I was never like, yeah, Chris, just like you were reading off.
Yeah.
You saying USA second team is still like,
Wins a little bit.
they messed that one up. It's okay, USA today. But with that said, that was just always my mentality. I was not written off, but in my mind, it was always how it was supposed to happen. And I started growing. And then I guess once that notoriety came, for me, it was like, okay, yeah, about time.
Yeah.
But once I started getting that notoriety, I wanted to get in the gym more because it was working, So from 9th grade pretty much on, every time I saw success, or if I was in the paper, or if the coach told me good job or something like that, I wanted more. It was always an emphasis on doing more work, doing more work. And
You were like, the
getting in
recipe
there.
works. Let's
Man,
crank out
it's-
some more
boy,
pizza pies with
you
that
know
recipe.
what I mean? It's going pretty good. Let's make something out of this. And one of the interesting things, and probably one of the things that lit a fire under me, was my dad. We weren't the poorest kids. I would describe my upbringing as lower middle class. But he sat me down, or we would drive all the time and ride everywhere. And he told me one day, like I was like 12, he said, "Hey man, I can't pay for college. So basketball, you love basketball. That's awesome. You can get a scholarship playing basketball. And that's great because I can't pay for college." He kept saying, "I can't pay for college." And I thought that was fascinating that you could actually, you could go to college and play basketball. Okay. And I started, that began an obsession with schools and mascots and learning the colors on top of all the stats and stuff, So once I really started getting into it, it just grew and grew and grew. And as it grew, so did the notoriety.
So let's talk about making those pizza pies. The recipe that was working, I want to try to tease apart some pieces of that. So you mentioned a name, Kevin Garnett, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any players you watched and decided to emulate? I had read that KG was one such player. I don't know if that's true. You can't believe everything you read on the internet. Of
course.
So you can confirm or deny, but were there players who you watched early on in your development as a player or as a player who you decided to emulate for one reason or another?
Oh yeah, Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan.
All right.
More so KG, but Tim Duncan, of course, too, because he was right down the street, and his nickname was the Big Fundamentals, and every coach loved the way he played the game. Yeah. So I would play the power forward, which is, it's kind of a dying position now, but it was called the 4, and it was cool to be a 4. Like, oh man, early 2000s, late 90s, to be a 4 man, it was awesome. And so it was just kind of looking for guys that looked like me.
Looked like you in terms of like physical dimensions.
Physical stature or lack thereof. But, it's kind of, growing up playing the game when you're skinny, when your mass hasn't caught up with your bones.
Yeah.
It's kind of, people kind of be like, you hear all the skinny jokes and you need to eat something and lift some weights. And like, I am lifting weights, but it was always this preconceived notion or this stigma that you had to have size to play down low. And once I saw KG play.
When you say down low, what do you mean?
Closer to the rim.
I see.
Now the game is more spread. It's more around the 3-point line. And the game back then was more people in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the game was played, closer to the basket, a lot more physicality, a lot of banging around, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people were worried for me. But, once I saw Kevin, there was one highlight in particular, long and skinny. He was an all-star when he was 19, 20 years old. He came straight out of high school in 95. And he was long and skinny like me. And one of the things, kind of, you were joking and saying how your coach said you handled the ball like a caveman. He could handle the ball.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a new thing. Not new all the way, but old school coaches would tell me, if you're tall, don't dribble.
Yeah.
That was a part of the game. Don't put the ball on the floor. I saw him put the ball on the floor and rebound and block shots and play defense. And he had this intensity and tenacity to him, the way he played the game. It was just infectious. And I was like, yo, I want to do that. And so I would imagine going to the park and imagine these moves and imagine myself doing, I would visualize every day, man. And once I saw that, it was over. And I mean, he was cool too. He had the swag, the young guy swag back then, had the look and, had the off-court look in the slam. And it was just amazing to me. And I just that's all I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to be, that right there.
KG. Not only tall, ball handling skills.
And a lot of people don't know this. But that was actually my nickname. I haven't told anybody. That was they called me KG in high school in summer league. Like, KG, that's how bad I wanted to, emulate his game and make it to the NBA. People were calling me KG.
All right. So this is the intended segue into all sorts of terminology that I'm going to need your help with. But let's talk about Tim Duncan just for a second, because the big fundamentals.
The big fundamentals, man.
That's a cool name. Now, what did the coaches like about his playing style? You said they all loved his playing style. Mm-hmm. What were the ingredients that they loved about his playing style?
He had that stoic demeanor. He was never he brought the intensity and he played hard, but it wasn't anything extra.
Wasn't flashy.
The opposite of flashy. But like we were speaking of, playing down low, closer to the basket, his moves that he used were very basic, but devastating. Sometimes when you're dealing with younger players that are good at the game, the simplicity can get to them. So they want to show that they're good by doing something fancy. And then usually you're messing it up, right? But Tim, he made his career off of establishing position, basic stuff, establishing position, getting your move, technique, playing within the system. And he was unstoppable. I mean, he was MVP of the league and perennial all-star, and the best four-man to ever play the game. You had to put him in that same context if you're trying to be successful.
And by playing within the system, do you mean within a coach's prescribed system?
Like a set number of plays. Like, basketball is a fast moving game, and it can look like guys are just out there or girls are just out there just running around and not really doing much. But there is
a method to the madness. You're supposed to be in a certain position, even if it's within the flow of a game. So, when I say system, that's what I mean by that. If he was at the top, he knew exactly what to do. If he's down low, he knew exactly what to do. And that added on top of the talent, they could have given it to him and say, okay, bring us home, big fella. And that would have worked. Yeah. But he added so much longevity on his career by playing within the system, in my opinion. And I mean, that made him more dangerous because
you have to worry about all of these other things happening.
Yeah,
if you're defending him, it's
Right.
4 other people out there that you have to worry about. But then he's hitting you on your body down low, getting the ball, and he was incredibly strong too.
Okay, so this is fun for me as a basketball illiterate to begin to sort of piece this together in my own mind, because you have the big fundamentals who's playing within the system, not in a negative sense, but meaning he understands how to play with and synergize with the other elements on the team.
Absolutely.
He is not doing anything fancy for fancy's sake, right? So as we were talking about before we started recording, how like Morgan Spurlock once told me, like, once you get fancy, fancy gets broken, right? Like,
That's a good one. And that's a good one.
And fancy can work, but you better have the fundamentals first, right? So he's devastating within the system, which is a possibility. And then you have KG, Kevin Garnett, who is in some ways violating the expectations of him, not because it's impossible to do so, just because there isn't much historic precedent for somebody his size also having the dexterity to be to handle the ball really well.
Especially in the mid 90s.
Right. Which later you would also receive that compliment quite a lot. And I want to go to power forward and is it 4-man? Is that right?
The 4.
All right. This is the 4. This is where I'm really going to embarrass myself. Here we go. So I'm going to make a confession. I was reading through the research. I was reading about your bio. I was watching videos, and I thought to myself, this might as well be in Greek. I can't even begin to imagine what these terms mean, half of them. So I went to this people are going to love this. So I went to Wikipedia and I looked up basketball.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just start there. And just to be clear, like I do watch basketball. I appreciate, I clearly don't follow it very well, but I can appreciate the athleticism. I understand what a 3-point shot is. I understand what a jump shot is, layup, slam dunk, etc. Some of these terms I actually do know, but I realized that I did not know the positions whatsoever. And so I just want to read something and then we can dive in. So this is from the Wikipedia entry on basketball, folks. Yes, feel free to laugh. All right. So first of all, if you didn't know this, 5 players on each side, it turns out. All right. So the 5 players on each side fall into 5 playing positions. The tallest player is usually the center. The second tallest and strongest, the power forward. A slightly shorter but more agile player is the small forward, and the shortest players or the best ball handlers are the shooting guard and the point guard, who implement the coach's game plan by managing the execution of offense and defensive plays, in parentheses, player positioning. Informally, players may play 3-on-3, 2-on-2, 1-on-1. And then I'll just add this because I was like, what? Really? Invented in 1891 by a Canadian-American gym teacher, James Naismith, or Naismith, perhaps. Naismith in Springfield, Massachusetts, United States. Basketball has evolved to become one of the world's most popular and widely viewed sports. So number 1, 1891, not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane. That's like wheels on luggage, where you're like, really? It took us that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they started with a peach basket. Did you get to that point?
No,
so back in the day, when they made the game, they had to have something to do in the wintertime in Massachusetts. So they put the peach basket up there. And when you make a basket, they had to get a ladder to climb up and take it out. It wasn't until later that they cut a hole in the peach basket.
The climbing up and getting it out, not as compelling for television.
It's not. It's like, oh, good shot. Okay, let me go.
Oh, hold on. Give me a few minutes.
The game will be 2-3 or something like that,
Just a quick thanks to one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to the show. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Small business owners have always shown an incredible ability to adapt and innovate. This past year has certainly highlighted many examples. Now, another way you can adapt and innovate in 2021 is by finding the right people to help you grow your business. LinkedIn Jobs makes it possible for you to do exactly that. Get started by posting your job for free to reach LinkedIn's network of more than 740 million professionals. Fill out targeted screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified candidates with the experience, skills, and motivation you're looking for. Then, with simple filtering and management tools, you can easily review, rate, and home in on your top candidates. LinkedIn Jobs can help you find the right person to help you grow your business. And your first job post is free. So just visit linkedin.com/Tim to learn more. Again, that's linkedin.com/Tim to post your first job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. So I just want to kind of run through this again and then get your commentary just as to how to think about the game. Now, also understanding the game is not static, right? And how the game is played changes.
Especially now. So we can take these rules and then we're about to break them.
Okay. All right. So not to say you have to comment on what I just read, because obviously you're much more qualified than the 37 people who put that together. How should we think about the positions of basketball? Like if I were an alien, which might as well be the case.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm looking at this and I understand what I said I understand, but I'm like, all right, how are the jobs and responsibilities separated out here? How should we think about that?
Well, with those positions, with all those positions, with that said, it's been totally...
Yeah. And each of those positions is numbered, therefore power forward.
Yeah, the 1 to 2, that's like when you get into it, like, oh yeah, I play the 2. That's when you're super cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I'm at the 5.
The shorthand.
Yeah, I'm at the 5.
All right.
1, 2, 3. You have your positions. But with that said, the game has changed. So you have 1 through 5. The 1 is the point guard. The 2 is the shooting guard. 3 small forward, 4 power forward, and the 5 is the center. What has happened in the last few years is that it's become more of a spread game, because mathematically people that do data eventually said, hey, let's shoot more threes, because these shots, we don't like these shots, we like these shots. So
that's interesting.
Spread the floor.
So is the reason, sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to do it a lot. Is the reason that the 3-point shot has become more and more prominent, that was driven by kind of like the sabermetrics equivalent. It came from the data wonks, not from the player side.
There were some players, in particular me and Shane Battier, we would talk about, my good friend Shane Battier, we played together in Miami during the championship years. We would talk about this. We had just got him, he had played his career in Houston and Memphis. In Houston, it's a guy by the name of Daryl Morey. He's the president for the Sixers in Philadelphia right now. Big stat guy. Love stats. I mean, a number cruncher. And so they had a certain team, and it was a whole culture of stat-driven guys. Shane came from that, and so that's where we would kind of talk, and we would talk about threes and contested twos and just different shots that you can take.
Contested two?
So if you're within the 3-point line, right, or a contested shot is if you're shooting and I just put my hand up, trying to defend you, right, trying to deny you from actually putting 2 or 3 points up. And so it turns
You're pretty
out,
good at denying other people.
for sure.
Yeah. I've
Use
seen
that link.
I have seen these.
So like it came to be that the worst shot in basketball is a contested 2, 15 to 18, 19, 20 feet away from the ball.
Got it. Just statistically, when they look at like the
Statistically, it's terrible.
Got it.
And so people took that information and said, okay, hey, we need to play faster. We need more points. Big fella, you need to dribble. So now it's, you want everybody
interesting.
to
So
handle
all
the
of a
ball.
sudden,
All of
that
a sudden
thing
it
that you
opened
were
up.
not supposed to do
is
became
everybody
an
should
asset.
do it, and it's like, wow, you play the game, everybody should be able to do the basic fundamentals. But now it's opened up to where now you have guys like, Nikola Jokic. Probably never heard of him. He's a big man that plays in Denver. One of the best players in the league. He's a 5-man, but he handles the ball.
Which is a 5-man again?
The center.
Okay, thank you.
So to confuse you more,
Yes, please.
now you have a thing called the point center.
Okay. All right. Oh boy.
That's if your big fella can bring it down. But the evolution of the game, you've had guys like, Magic Johnson, then LeBron James comes and he's very tall, but he can handle the ball. Then you have Ben Simmons, Giannis Antetokounmpo, these guys who are very tall, 7 feet, 6'8" to 7 feet, who back in the day, you could say, okay, hey, you're a 4 or a center or something else. They've totally transformed the game because they're the guys bringing it up the floor. And they're getting the team into offense. So they're doing the job of the point guard. So now it's more of the term positionless. When we were playing, when I was playing, it's crazy to say the last decade, early in the 2010s, that became kind of one of our words to say, positionless. Disruption, that's the word I'm looking for. So, basketball has been disrupted. What we thought was the game has been cracked open, and now it's just become, it's become a faster pace, longer shots, more athleticism, and not so much the cookie cutter approach to where someone should be on the court because of their size or lack of size.
It makes me wonder, about adaptability and the adaptability of not just some players, and I'm sure there's also just a selection bias that changes with respect to who is drafted and how, and just the entire feeder system into the NBA, but also coaches, even more so coaches. Like if their entire career has been predicated on a system of a certain type. I mean, I'm not asking you to name names, but have you seen certain coaches who've been really able to adapt to this new style of play, and others who are like, I don't know, I don't get it?
Well, the ones who say I don't know, I don't get it, they don't have jobs, right?
yeah, they get weeded out quickly. Yeah.
One of the guys, of course, my ex-coach and Eric Spoelstra, I remember him, he was having the vision of having that positionless type of basketball and that faster pace, which I didn't like at the time because that would mean I would have to play the center as opposed to the power forward, and I didn't want to do that. But just taking advantage of the speed.
Why didn't you want to do that?
Because I was banging up against guys bigger than me. So usually in the NBA, my playing weight was about 235, 240. If I'm playing the 5, I'm banging with guys that are 280, 270. And on a weekly or nightly instances, oh man, it gets brutal. But, it did work as far as, using the speed to get around the bigger defenders. So essentially playing, I guess if you were a fighter, going a class up in weight.
Yeah.
Because you're quicker, you can, hit them more.
Yeah.
That was
right.
pretty much the philosophy. Yeah. One of the other guys who have done a great job is Greg Popovich. Mm-hmm. He's in San Antonio. He's done a wonderful job because they run the same plays. Yeah. They just extend them.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. Could you expand on that? Because I remember watching The Last Dance and watching this segment on the Spurs. Yeah. And sort of their, I don't want to say playbook, but sort of systematic approach and some of the debate around that, right? Because there are other players who are like, that's not fun to watch, right? Like, they should do A, B, and C instead.
Yeah, because it beats you. It's not fun to watch your team getting beat,
So can you expand on what you mean by that? So they had the same fundamental system, but they expanded it?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the best analogy I could put to it is, I don't want to expose their system, but everybody knows their system. It's predicated, and I might be saying this wrong, but it's two plays that are the base in their system: weak and strong. Mm-hmm. I can't remember which side of the court. If you're on this side of the court, it's weak. On another side of the court, it's strong. But that's their base of the offense. Like I was saying earlier, the game a few years ago was being played closer to the rim. There was nowhere to go. There's no space. Even if you want to get your best player attacking into the paint, if there's 8 other people in there, it makes it a little more difficult. Traffic jam. So you can take those same plays in basketball and just tell your players, hey, all these things from the Heat days are going to come into my head, but pace and space. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I like it.
But that's what, the space was very particular because you want to be able to see what's going on and to attack the rim, get closer to the rim for easy buckets. Well, all you have to do is, hey, if you're in the paint, I want you to get out there. We're going to run the same plays, but as opposed to being 6 feet away from the basket, get 16. I need you in this 12 to 16 area feet right here, because usually bigs, they wanted to keep them, we call them bigs, the 4s and the 5s, bigs. We want to keep you as close to the basket as possible. But that was clogging it up for the smaller guys to be able to attack. Yeah. So you would tell to be able to.
And they want to keep their bigs close to the basket, not to state the obvious, but so that you can receive a pass, jump up, done,
be tall,
rebound,
right?
Do all
your
the
thing.
Yeah, the tall things.
Do all the things that tall people do. Yeah. Well, if you spread the court, that makes it a little tougher to guard. It takes bodies away from the painted area. That area where the paint. Yeah. That's what we call it.
Harden the paint.
Harden the paint.
If people have wondered what that term refers to, as my girlfriend told me, I was like, what? Oh my God, I never knew that.
It's going hard in the paint, man. You can have the same type of offense, which is nobody is reinventing the wheel here. But what's happened is the game has become faster and more spread so that, more offensive opportunities can happen.
So you have preemptively developed ball handling skills, which lo and behold, now are this huge asset.
Yeah.
As the game evolves. But you get put into center where you're basically running into freight trains. Uh-oh.
It was a part of my whole career. It happened in Toronto too.
I'm not saying a bad thing. But initially you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Now, again, based on just the homework that I've done, I mean, you seem to be also very, very well known as a rebounder. And one of the questions that comes to mind for me is, if suddenly the bigs, is that the term? Are expanded out to further away from the basket, does that not make it harder for you to utilize one of your superpowers? In a ways, there are certain things that do get taken away. In our case, it was a little easier to make that sacrifice because we had Dwayne and Wade and LeBron. So if it's saying, hey, Chris, we need you to get out the paint and spread the floor, yeah, your offensive rebounding opportunities are going to sink quite a bit, but it's better if we get those guys attacking. Yep. So you need to be out here. And one of the things that kind of developed was having a more sound defense is, okay, instead of crashing the boards, just get back. Yeah. Because, the defense, especially, if the defense gets the rebound, now they're on offense. If they're running, if they're a fast team, you want to mitigate their opportunities for easy baskets. So, and that can be a stat too, which I'm pretty sure we did dig up that stat. What's the percentage of you getting an offensive rebound versus not getting a stop because of that? So question for you on the stats, and maybe this is getting too nerdy, but do all the teams have equal access to data, and it's just a matter of analyzing it more effectively?
Yeah. Oh, we can go on NBA.com and get all the stats right now.
Wow, so that's hard. Everybody it's an open book.
It wasn't like that before. And the way you crunch those numbers is not an open book. So everybody gets the data, but that's all it is just data. It's just telling you what happened the last game or over the course of the game. It's on the teams to kind of take that and utilize it if they want to. Now, some people do overdo it, in my opinion. You can kind of get some people like, it's the way we want to play. Okay, cool.
Got to tie your shoes with the left hand first.
But there's still, in my case, it's still some fundamentals to the game that, you can't really get around.
You mentioned Eric Spoelstra, if I'm getting the pronunciation right. Our mutual friend, Ryan Holiday, had given me a bullet, which was related to books that Eric had given you. What books did he give you that come to mind?
He would give books every Christmas to the team. So there were
quite a few.
And I read all of them. I was probably the only dude to read all of them. It was even kind of funny because one time we were cleaning out our lockers and said, somebody, I won't name who, but somebody grabbed the book from their locker. Oh, man, Spo, thanks for this Christmas gift. It's in June. We're blowing dust off of it, But when we first met, I had just signed to Miami. And I was always reading. I was always been an avid reader since I was a kid. And I just fell into reading books. I would always read books, especially on the road, before naps, before games. That was my thing. And he knew that about me. He had heard that about me. Him being a good coach said, hey, I'm going to get him this book. I heard he's a reader. He got me Outliers by Gladwell. And I said, okay. He gave it to me and I took it. Oh, that's cool. I read that book. And he just kind of looked at me like, what? And then ever since then, I hope that I pushed him to do more research in his book buying. But yeah, he would get us books every Christmas.
Were there any that stood out to you?
One in particular was Grit, because he used that term all the time. The author's slipping my name right now. Angela Duckworth. And, he got us that book and he would always use these phrases. And so grit was a huge word that he used that I'm sure he still uses to this day. But that book in particular, he bought for the team and I read that one. I do remember that one. And it's another one that's slipping my mind. But I remember specifically we were having a conversation and it wasn't an easy conversation. Usually when you're a coach, you're having tough conversations 24/7 with your players because everybody wants the ball. I was having one of those conversations like, hey, give me the ball, And it was one chapter in particular that was saying push versus pull. Some people you have to push, some people you have to pull. another chapter that said you have to have an open mindset or a closed mindset. You don't want a closed mindset. You want an open mindset. The book will come to me in a minute. Mm-hmm. I had to challenge him on having an open mindset. Hey, give me the ball. Yeah. Have an open mindset, coach,
Remember that book you gave me?
And I always love that one because it's the book that he gave us, and I had to use it, to kind of try to get my way.
Oh, man.
But I want to say it's good to great, but that's probably not the one. But those, good to great is one of them. Those books in particular. And I mean, like I say, throughout the whole stint in Miami, he gifted us books, and I'm pretty sure he gifted us The Obstacle is the Way. Yeah. I want to say he did. I'm pretty sure. But, I just thought it was fascinating, just a coach taking the time to think of his teammates and give them food for thought, something to think about. And I always enjoyed that. And I would read it, and I felt like I was getting inside his mind and the minds of others, reading these passages and kind of taking, and interpreting it for myself right before the game. It was always great.
Wow. So you would read right before playing?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I would, it was funny. Pat Riley, he told me, he's like, "You're like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar." He would sit there and read the whole time. And a couple of my young players, when I was the old grizzled vet, they told me, like, I would just sit there reading. And I'm oblivious to this stuff. I'm just getting my mind right. I read because this was my relaxing time because it's about to get hectic.
Yeah, so you're not reading like Black Hawk Down. You're reading...
Maybe.
Okay.
I might.
Yeah. But
if I'm reading Black Hawk Down, it's the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's winning time. But, I always tried to give myself that peace of mind. It was like, I felt like it was my time. And granted, we're in the locker room. It's media everywhere and people, it's like the buzz of an NBA game about to start. And I would sit there and they told me, man, when you close that book, it's like, all right, he's ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would read, and all the way up until coach is about to start talking. It's like, all right, cool. Let's go out here and do it.
Are there any books that you've reread multiple times that come to mind? I mean, or was it always a new book that you would read?
I always read a new book, but the book that I read all the time, which I know that you're a connoisseur of Japanese culture, is The Way and the Power. Have you heard of that book?
No.
So it's a book called The Way and the Power. I had a buddy of mine who was a Kenpo black belt many times over. He gifted me that book. It pretty much was breaking down the way of the samurai. And it was 2 books into one, The Way and the Power. Strategies, the power is more so like strategies for a master, distancing, confusion, how to handle conflict, things like that. The way is more so shaping the body and shaping the mind to become a samurai. So the exercises that one has to do to get to the point to start mastery before you can even think about it. You need to be here. One of the passages said, you have to look successful. You want to be able to look good. So I took all these principles and applied them to basketball. So what they meant by looking good was saying, hey, shirt tucked in, regulation, everything is good to go. My shoes are tied. I don't have to worry about them because I have this knot that they won't come loose. So I'm not worried about my shoes while I'm playing. It also says, exercise must be vigorous. People need to tell. So you have that strong spirit, when you're showing up before you even play. My muscle definition is good. I'm ready to play because we've been working hard. We want to feel that, it's feeling the spirit before you even start playing the game, working on your key, things like that.
Huh.
Yeah.
The Way and the Power.
The Way and the Power. I think you'd enjoy it.
Cool.
You should check
title.
it out.
Cool title. Yeah.
And it's got Japanese,
I'm into it.
They don't translate the words. So for instance, one of the principles is called mushin. Mm-hmm. That really resonated with me quite a bit.
No mind.
No mind. So you attack with no mind. I don't think about everything. We've done all the studying. I filled myself with my opponent, and I'm attacking with no mind because I've done all the training.
That is super cool. That's
That's
Wushin.
Yeah, so you read that and be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Wushin, no mind, or this character, Shin, which is also Kokoro, is is also used for heart, but it's like spirit, heart, and mind all wrapped into one. It's culturally super interesting.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. And I mean, they don't change. They do not translate because some of them have no translation, right?
Yeah.
So they have the like Mushin, for instance. It's called Mushin. Then they do English, but the title, the principle is all Japanese.
So you mentioned the knot. Having the right knot, so you're not worried about your shoes. I might be misattributing to this. I don't think I am, but even though I know very little about most sports, I'm fascinated by consistent top performers. Right? Because it's like once you're lucky, twice you're good. Like for a decade, okay,
Right.
there is some method. And I recall reading this story about John Wooden, famed, I guess UCLA coach.
He's got his book too. You should check it out.
And I recall reading a story. I'm sure I'm going to get the details wrong, but when he would meet a bunch of new players, sit down and he'd walk them through tying their shoes, and they'd be like, "Why does this matter?" And he'd be like, "Little things matter because if you mess this up, you're going to get irritated, then you're going to get a blister, and then you're not going to be able to move properly, and that's going to cost you points, and that's going to cost you the game."
Yeah, man.
And I was like, "Oh, so good, so good."
Pyramid of Success.
Pyramid of Success.
Pyramid of Success by John Wooden. You can check that one out. That pretty much describes that. So he had a pyramid of success, and that's one of the myths or stories or whatever. They pretty much owned the 60s and 70s, UCLA basketball. They built it to what it is, historically today. And not only did he get the best players and great players, Abdul-Jabbar being one of them, he had the best teams. And coming in to play for a great coach like that, it's like, okay, first day of practice. Oh, I can't wait. What are we going to do? And he's showing them how to put on their socks and shoes, practically and perfectly. And that was the first day of practice. So, just
I'm just imagining the faces.
Could you imagine that? Like, we about to, what offense are we going to run? This is going to be the best. And it's, and if you read, there's an actual pyramid that he built and constructed, and tying shoes and socks was at the very bottom of the pyramid of success. So, and he'd do this every year. Yeah. Every year, that would be the first thing that they would go over. And then they would build on top of that.
And he was testing and tracking and keeping notes. It's not accidental that ended up at the bottom of the pyramid.
Of course. But that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If you get a blister, especially back in those days, everybody was playing in Chuck Taylors.
Oof.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's important, man. You've got to, this is important stuff. And, like I was alluding to earlier, that's the challenge with younger players, right? They want to go right to being the master. And doing the things that, you think that a master is supposed to be doing, when we need to do this first, the basic fundamentals. That way, when it's winning time, we can be healthy. It's kind of like many sayings out there, but the bit and the horse and the shoe. If that nail isn't right, then the horseshoe, it's all these catastrophic events that could possibly follow if this one basic thing is not correct.
You've spent a lot of time as a leader with other leaders, whether players, iconic players, coaches, whole broad spectrum. Are there any particular lessons or stories related to leadership that stick out to you, things you saw or absorbed from anyone in particular?
My high school coach, Leonard Bishop, he talked to me one time, and as much as I became more social later in life, this is me at 17 years old, 6'11". All the accolades are possible, and they can possibly come. He called me in his office and he told me, you don't have to be loud to be a leader. You can lead by example. And we always hear the thing, lead by example, right? You will hear that all the time, but what does that even mean, right? And he explained it to me. He said, you can lead by putting your work in, being on time, being dressed and ready to go when it's time to practice, staying after practice. Your teammates are watching you all the time. So if you do these things and lead by example, never giving up, never quitting, playing hard, these are the things that could be infectious. You don't have to be the guy giving the win one for the Gipper speech. You can go out there and you can be yourself. And that was so comforting to me. I remember that conversation we were having in his office, and I said, wow, okay, That gave me so much more confidence because I could be myself. Because on the court, I'm going to yell and scream and do all that stuff all day. I wasn't always the player to always talk during the game at that age. But if it's getting hype and screaming and yelling, basketball was always my release to do that. It was comforting to know I could be myself and still bring the leadership qualities to that team. And, that always stuck with me.
What are some of the things that people don't know or don't see that you think are important about some of the big names you spent time around? Whether that, and you can take your pick, could be anybody, could be a player, could be a coach, could be an owner, could be anyone at all. Somebody not on that list, because people see you on TV. And maybe they followed you for a long time, and maybe they think they know what makes you you. And they might have a few things right, but they probably have a whole lot of things wrong. That would also, I assume, be true for many of these big names that you've spent time around. Are there any particular ingredients or special aspects of some of these folks that come to mind that you think are maybe less appreciated or less obvious to people?
One, being humanizing the people. That can kind of get lost in translation when you're on TV. So remembering that there's a human element. These are people with families and feelings and emotions. And on top of that, I think the work that is being put in to anybody who's elite at their craft or even professional at their craft. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of work that's put in to even be in the league.
Right. Right. Let alone on the short list of people most famous.
And even on the short list, man, they're working hard.
Sure.
And I don't know, like the first thing that came to mind when you said that was like, I was about to say you ever watched a basketball game, but
well, I have watched basketball. I have.
You have watched basketball. So have you ever watched?
I've watched. Not to say I understood all the finer details.
Yeah.
But
So have you ever watched it when they say, okay, they've got 2 days off until their next game?
Yes.
That is not true.
Yeah. Right.
Not true. Practice, treatment, appearances, the professional aspect that it takes to be able to perform. Because usually people just see you on TV and they see you doing your thing. Oh, okay, 2 days off. No, we do not have 2 days off. There are no such thing as weekends. If there's a weekend, maybe we play at 8 o'clock as opposed to 7:30 like usual. That was the only cursor for me that let me know it was the weekend. So just trying to remember, and it's really for all people who are good at what they do. If you admire that person, remember that there's a human element. That's a human. They're probably going through it, or maybe not, or just whatever comes with life, they're dealing with it. And the tremendous amount of work and focus that it takes to be able to do that, to be able to say, hey, I need to put this to the side to be able to perform. It's happened many times in my career. You go to funerals, you have things you have to fight through, and then you have to play, and you're still expected to win, So just remembering those things, just remembering that when you're watching your favorite player or your favorite author or favorite engineer, whatever that is, the tremendous amount of work and dedication that it takes to get to that level. That's what I would like people to really remember and understand.
I have watched, maybe not enough basketball, but I have watched basketball. And in fact, at one point, not to say I ever got particularly good at it, but when I was working on a book called The 4-Hour Chef, which is very confusingly actually about accelerated learning, which might explain why there was so much confusion on the part of readers also. But there's a section looking at free throws in basketball.
Okay.
And so I actually practiced quite a bit with the help of a few people, sort of technicians who were trying to help me understand basic principles.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is that I have been just dazzled by, say, 3-point shots. Because as someone built like a small Flintstones character myself, right? I watch people who are jumping over the rim and performing these incredible feats of athleticism. I'm like, well, I can't even imagine myself doing that. Like the physics are just not there, right? Like my bones never caught up with my mass is the problem. I mean, it's the other way around. And plus my vertical jump's like somewhere between half an inch and an inch at best. So those are things I just can't even imagine myself doing. And I think people might be, I'm not saying that this is everyone, but people might be inclined to say, well, he's 6'11".
Right.
So like, of course he can slam a basketball. But it's a lot harder to use that justification when it's a 3-point shot, right? It's like, no, actually, like you, short guy. Yeah, Tim, that's you. I'm talking to you. Like, you should technically, like, you have the physical capability of doing that.
Mhm.
So I would just love to hear, and this might be getting too into the weeds, but how you improved your 3-point shots.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just repetition in the sense like you can make the same mistake over and over and over again. And I've read about you doing video review, watching games 6 to 8 times and so on. So I know that you are methodical about reviewing your own performance, but how did you improve something like a 3-point shot?
I didn't start shooting threes consistently until about my third year in Miami, second or third year in Miami. I shot them in Toronto a little bit, but like I said, it still wasn't, we were talking about the game earlier, it wasn't that widely accepted in the game. Big men shooting threes, handful of them. Now you have a handful that don't. We got to Miami and, you know, my position or my responsibilities changed. So I wasn't getting the ball closer to the basket anymore. That was my job in Toronto, to get the ball as close to the basket as possible. That's where we function. I was pretty good at it. And then the team would go from there and we would distribute and kind of base our game off of, I guess, my success or lack of success down low. I was telling you earlier that in Miami, I had to get out the way.
Yeah.
That was my sacrifice in particular with that team so that LeBron and D could penetrate and get into the paint and do what they're best in the world at doing. As we continue to play, I had a coach, and me and Shane Battier, we would talk all the time about it. But then I had to, have discussions with coaches as well. And somebody said something one day, said, hey man, just take a step back, take one step back, shoot the same shot, but just take a step back, because I was always an avid worker on my jump shot. I was pretty good. I was lethal from mid-range. That was my thing. I always worked on it. So it's the hundreds of thousands or millions of reps that I have shooting the ball. I know I have a touch anyway. It was just extending the range. So it's kind of one of those things that if you're good short range and mid-range, hell, you practice your long range, you can be pretty good too. But getting those fundamentals of the shooting motion, the arm, snapping your wrist, following through, balance, all these different fundamentals that you learn and what goes into a great shooter, going and seeking that advice, learning from other shooters, always kind of taking in information, but relying on my own information. I think you have to have a good foundation in what you've done already by yourself, even if it's in the weeds or in the dark. And then you have hopefully someone that can refine what you already have or say something to you to say, hey man, take a step back. You can shoot threes. And then I started shooting threes. And then as I became more consistent, I found more success. And it's funny to watch the game now because I'm like, man, I could still be playing, I'm 37. I saw myself playing into my, 37, 38. And I started practicing more threes because I saw where the game was going. I said, okay, yeah, they're shooting. There's more threes. Me and Shane have talked about this. 3 is more than 2. Okay, I'm going to start shooting more threes. And that in my last year in the league, I had a higher frequency of 3-point shots. And I was seeing some success. So that was exciting. But that was like the part of my career that I never really got to crack open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With 3-pointers, when you're watching other players make 3-point shots, are their styles dramatically different, or are the good 3-point shooters, do they all have the same ingredients?
I think there's the same ingredients. I mean, you're always going to get different flavors, but it's the same ingredients to me. It's always follow through, one fluid motion, and good balance. If you have those things, you can shoot the ball. And it's kind of funny, you learning to shoot free throws. I would always tell people, I give my friends pointers. So I have a few buddies that, they're producers and songwriters. They always play in rec league games. I won't give away your sauce, dude. Don't worry. I won't give away your position. But I would, I just give them like pointers and say, like, hey man, can you help me with my shot? And I just look at them, shoot a couple times and give them corrections. And then they see instant success, but that's just, elbow in, follow through, one fluid motion. Boom. You have a better... You just wanted to go straight. and it's, you can get super deep into a trajectory and all that stuff, but that's when you see it's good to get into the fundamentals of where the ball is supposed to go and how you're supposed to hold it. But one of the things that we always do is just start with one hand shooting.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had you doing that right under the basket, just all day. Get a lot of repetitions in that, build that muscle memory, and then you can start stepping back as you get better.
Yeah, the thing that kind of blew my mind also, which I hadn't thought about at all, because why would I? I hadn't had any exposure, was I was just missing. I was like 0 for 20, even at a close distance. One coach, I'm blanking on his name. I want to say it was Rick Torbett, but he did an eye dominance test. And he's like, oh, you're right-handed, but you're left eye dominant. He's like, yeah, shift it like an inch over. And then the whole thing changed. I was like, wow, that's a thing.
Yeah,
okay.
That's pretty good.
And well, maybe someday I'll pick up a basketball again and have to confiscate all phones and cameras first. So be critical to my self-esteem.
Close your right eye and shoot
it. So what did it feel like going from, and why did you go from Toronto to Miami?
Yeah.
Right? Because like you were King of the Hill.
Yeah,
right?
it was Mr. Canada.
Yeah, you're Mr. Canada.
Yeah, it was a tough decision. I loved Toronto and Toronto loved me. And it was great just to be able to compete and put a city or a country on your back and just hope for the best and just go out there and work hard every day. And, I just felt, like a pillar of the community. I wanted to do it so bad for Toronto. You eventually get to a point in your career where you have to make a choice. And I went to, I talked to many people. It was a dilemma. I didn't know what to do. And if you're familiar with popular culture, or maybe not, that year in 2010, I was like the first mega free agent. Everybody who was free agents, it was about 8 or 9 free agents. That's like, okay, they're the best 8 or 9 guys in the world right now. They're ready to go. Things can and will dramatically change. That was the atmosphere that was coming. And I knew that was coming. And I had tried everything. I tried everything in Toronto. I tried to recruit. I tried to push myself, push my team. And we weren't even scratching the surface. And one of the tough things dealing with it is seeing the early success of my peers. I wanted to win. I've always wanted to win. And I've always wanted to put in the work to be able to do that and compete and hopefully gain glory in that way. I talked to a lot of older players and
about what to do.
And older gentlemen as well. And the thing that I kept hearing was that you want to play on the stage, man. It's about going for it. It's about competing for a championship. You want to play on that stage. That's the phrase that stuck with me. And I had an opportunity to play with 2 other great players. And we had known each other since we were teenagers. I've been knowing Brian since we were 16, 17 years old. I knew Dwayne since we were 19, 20 years old, and it just fit. And it was a possibility to be like my heroes. I told you, I idolized Jordan and Kobe, and it was right there to be able, the calling happened. And I wanted to play on that stage that I was talking about. I was telling you, from since I was a little kid, I was watching Michael Jordan. I was like, I distinctly remember. And even, the moment I found out about basketball was because Michael Jordan was playing on TV all the time. I mean, even we would go to Dayton, Ohio. My dad, he'd drive us, it's crazy, 18 hours in a single cab pickup truck, 84 F-150, man. And he'd drive us from Dallas to Dayton and drop us off. And like every summer, 91, 92, 93 for sure, the night that we got to my grandma's house, the Bulls would be playing, and it's winning time. It was in the finals, and I understood after a while. After they get the trophy, I'm like, oh wow, this is amazing, and I wanted to do that, man. And I couldn't even tell you what happened the rest of that summer. I couldn't tell you what happened that night. I couldn't even tell you who was around the TV. I know I was, and I was just taking it all in. And every year, I would watch it and watch it and watch it, and that's all I wanted to do. Aspire to do. And at that time, that situation was right there in front of me. It was right there in front of me to take. So I took it.
Yeah.
And that was only a chance. This is just an opportunity, not to even say that you're going to have success, but this is your best chance to go for that right now.
Now, did you feel 100% confident when you made that decision and in the weeks and months following? Or were there any points where you're like, Oh man.
Oh yeah, there's always going to be those points, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, there's those points. You get to those points, but I had gotten used to that by then. And, for whoever's listening, sometimes it's just going to be like that. You're supposed to feel it, right? It is a major leap of faith.
Yeah.
And if you're making that leap of faith, there will be some questions, but that was part of my mental training. Like, hey, they're just questions. That's okay. Let's just keep going forward. Logically, it makes sense. It's sound. And then, when the emotions come in and you get those feelings like, I don't know if I can do this. And we came together in such a way to where it was explosive and pretty infamous.
Yeah.
So that comes into it as well. Yeah, you start having self-doubt. And that's one of the things we eventually got to with talking with the Heat. That self-doubt is going to come. It doesn't make you any less of a competitor or a person. It's just a part of the process.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're mentioning that. I remember not too long ago, I was talking to a really, not on the podcast, this was a private conversation, but an extremely famous investor who, from the outside looking in, I'm like, okay, this guy's balls are bigger than my house. Like, I don't know how I don't know how he does what he does. Like, I would not get a second of sleep. It's just the risks that I perceive him as taking.
Yeah.
And we were talking about self-doubt and second guessing. And he goes, oh, just to be clear, he's like, no matter what, you're going to have some regret. He's like, if you buy something and it does really well, you're going to kick yourself for not having bought enough. Why didn't I buy enough? if you buy something and it does really poorly, you'd be like, why did I invest in that? He's like, no, either way. He's like, you're going to have second guesses. He's like, just accept that as like part of the game. And I was like, oh, it was actually very stress relieving. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
fighting myself all this time, man.
I was like, oh, okay.
Because a lot of people, they get that. They think something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Or they think something's wrong with the situation, or they'll pull out and say, hey, no. I always kind of think of one of my favorite books was Blink.
Blink, yeah.
By Gladwell. And, just talking about the gut decision, trusting your gut. Then we talk ourselves out of it. Yeah. We knew the answer.
Yeah.
Then we talk ourselves out.
Yeah.
Talking yourself out of it, that's a part of it. It's going to happen, but, just stay with it. Stay with what you said you were going to do, what you're meant to do. And sometimes the self-doubt comes. You just got to be like, shh. Hold on. I'm working now. And it's okay to dismiss that voice.
Yeah, totally. Doesn't mean you're uniquely flawed.
Yeah, it does not mean that at all.
When you were reviewing footage of yourself, could you give an example of, if one comes to mind, of when you did that? And then once again, like, how do you watch? Like, what are you looking for and what are you seeing? Because someone was asking me as I was preparing for this, like, well, have you watched basketball? And I said, I think I've seen basketball. I'm not sure I've watched it because, for instance, I mean, there are sports I know a lot more about, like wrestling or boxing or these things, and I can watch it and I see things that some of my friends won't see just because I know the technical underpinnings.
Absolutely.
Right? So when you're watching footage, if you can think of any examples of reviewing your own footage, why did you look at it? And then what were you looking for? What types of things did you pick out?
I think naturally every player will start on offense. They want to watch themselves on offense, and it can easily turn into just a highlight tape.
The Instagram of your own mind.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, your highlight tape. And I would look for mistakes. I got to the point where I was looking for mistakes.
Did you do that consistently? Did it start at a particular point? Was it always?
No, not always. Like I said, highlight tape. It started off as highlight tapes, and you just want to see yourself doing good, but then you get to a point to where you're looking for the inconsistencies. Or if there was a game, certain particular game that you were unsuccessful, I'm looking at the whole game to see what exactly, why, what happened, what I can do to get better. What is this team doing? They might have had some success against me, defending me. So one of the things I would look for, it's so hard to describe, but I would look for everything all at once. You get to the point where you're looking for everything, but the main things were defense and offense. My positioning on offense, I would always look at my teammates' characteristics, seeing what they're doing, what the scouting report on them is. They might do a certain particular move every single time in this play, and you have to watch film to know that. It would help build continuity. And we talk about it too, like when you're doing that, I want you to zig instead of zag, and it's having those discussions.
You watched the video with coaches, with teammates?
Everything. By myself, with the team. We always started practice with half an hour of film.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, 45 to an hour if Spo felt long-winded. But yeah, we would
And that was
open
game
up.
footage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty much usually the night before, looking at all the mistakes. And then I developed the habit of going home and dissecting other players. So in particular was Dirk Nowitzki, 3-point shooter, 7 feet. Late 90s, early 2000s. This is when it was, he was shooting threes back when, it was very taboo, I guess, for a big to be doing all that stuff. But he revolutionized the game in that aspect. We lost against them in the 2011 finals. Terrible, terrible tragedy, right? But one thing it inspired me to do, he did these certain particular moves within the system that were, you couldn't stop it. And I had to figure out what it was he was doing. So I watched a tremendous amount of film on him in particular. But what happened in our losing effort, was you start seeing, like you're saying, you start seeing other things. So what I started doing was I started compartmentalizing the film. And I would say, okay, I'm going to watch what Atlanta, or I'm going to watch what the Lakers are doing on offense. It became this thing of, okay, I've got my offensive system down. I know my game. Now I will watch film on the other team. I just want to get inside the mind of the other team. I want to know all their plays. I want to know their best players, best moves, so we can take all those things away. So that's what it became. I would study to take the top 2 high percentage things away from a team or a person.
I have to imagine also that with that amount of footage and also just that amount of time on the court practicing, playing, that you're almost certainly absorbing a lot more than you're consciously aware of.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure. Absolutely. And what starts happening is not that it happens on tap, but you can start anticipating what's going to happen on the court. So things will just come to you and be like, I'm going to run over here because I'm going to be wide open, or I'm going to crash the boards because I'm going to get a dunk. And it happens. Yo, that shit's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But, the more, it just becomes a part of you. The more that you watch it. And I was having, those second guesses and doubts and stuff the other week. I was talking with my buddy and I said, man, I could have done more, man.
Yeah.
He said, okay, stop. You watch more film than anybody I know.
Yeah.
Because, film is more of a thing, a football term.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the quarterback in football. They have to watch a tremendous amount of film because they have to, it's really anticipation.
Yeah.
They have to anticipate. They have to look where they're looking and say, okay, this is what they're doing. If you watch enough film, you'll pick up on people's tendencies and you know what they're about to do before they do it because he's leaning a little, those subconscious things that you pick up
Yeah,
on.
they'll telegraph.
Like I say, you would be surprised how much success you have as a defender if you take the best move away.
Yeah.
Every day I watch film, whether it's the team or the player, and be like, okay, take away that for him. He goes right every single time. He's got to go left today. And if he scores 30 points going left, hey, I'm going to tip my hat to him. But percentage, that's where we would mess with the data. We would play with the numbers. We twist the numbers a little bit. Team-wise and individual-wise, you develop a repetition for knowing the team's plays. That's the biggest thing, right?
That's got to really mess with people.
It does. If it's 2 minutes in the fourth quarter and they call a play, it's like he's going right there. A lot of people look at LeBron and be like, oh my God, these were the discussions we were having every day. LeBron James, Shane Battier, Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, Rashard Lewis, myself. We're talking about, I guess, a master class every day in how to stop people or, how to be successful.
Take away one leg of the stool.
If they beat us with 2 legs, then, hey, man, that's a good job, but probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the footage is so important in the fight game too, whether boxing or MMA, same story. Also because I guess like many sports, like if you have person A versus person B and A beats B and B beats C, it doesn't automatically mean that A is going to beat C.
Right, for sure. Matchups and
styles.
And styles. And another component to that is you might play a team like San Antonio, which we were duking it out with them for a couple of years, and they'll run certain plays against certain teams. They have certain set plays against you that they think are successful. And you have to crack those codes and figure that out. on top of the individual tendencies for a Manu Ginobili, for Tony Parker, for Tim Duncan, for Danny Green. You have to know their individual tendencies on top of the team tendencies. So it can get pretty deep. You like you were saying, get in the weeds. You can be in the weeds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Manu is he's a sweet guy. He's close to here, lives nearby.
Yeah, he'll dunk on you too. That's well,
Well, it's definitely dunk on
probably
me.
even now. That was the thing about the Spurs. Maybe like, man, nice guys. Well, he's elbowed me in the face a few times. So, the nice guy,
The gentlemanly elbow.
He's a hell of a competitor.
Yeah. Let's talk about Letters to a Young Athlete. This is your new book.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Books are hard.
Books are hard.
Yeah.
Books are hard.
How did this come about?
So I was just in a place. I got the unexpected news that I wouldn't be playing anymore, and I was just kind of in a place, and I was just not wandering around, but reshuffling the deck.
Yeah.
That's
a great way to put it.
Getting used to being a father in the household, being a husband in the household all the time. I never knew how much time that I had given to basketball. People think things are easy and be like, because you should write a book. I remember people were saying, you should write a book. Like, what am I going to write about? I didn't even know what to even think about, but I just put it to the side and really didn't think too much of it. But always being an avid reader, I guess it was somewhere in the back of my mind. I continued to think about it. And I was in a period, whether I liked it or not, of reflecting. I had never reflected on my career. You're too busy playing. Yeah, you're just in it. You're too busy playing and going to the next thing and going from A to Z. And I find myself in, just reflecting on the journey and how that child from Hutchins, Texas was able to actually jump from lily pad to lily pad and make it to the NBA and actually be successful. And thinking about those who helped me along my path and all the coaches who said the wise words to me, friends who helped me out, my family, of course, that helped me out, my wife. And I was in deep reflection. And then, the opportunity came. We just kept talking about it. I have agents and they were like, yeah, man, just keep talking about, think about it. And you should meet Ryan. We should meet Ryan Holiday. I said, oh, yeah, I've read a few of his books, man. That's cool. So we met right down the street here in Austin. And we hit it off. We had like a 3-hour lunch, just sitting, talking and shooting the shit. And we had a great time. And then I said, okay, great. Let's figure this out. And there's no reason to talk to anybody else. He was the first person that we interviewed to help us out. And from then on, we just were bouncing ideas. It took months and months and months just to even figure out, what are we going to write about? But sitting there and being open to thinking of myself in that position of not being a player and thinking of what would be the book that I wanted to read before a game if I were a younger player today. So this is kind of that book that I wanted to read. And, one of my favorite parts about books like that is that they always translate it. Whether that was, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a CEO, a leader, a follower, a librarian, a teacher, we wanted to have those basic principles that apply to everything, whether you're a young athlete or an old athlete.
Yeah.
We wanted to have those lessons from myself that have actually helped me and worked, and, from people that I admire, tools that have gotten them through challenges. I think that's the biggest thing. There are challenges every day. Everybody goes through challenges. And this is a book to give you those tools to hopefully rise to the occasion when it comes. Yeah.
Who are some of the people you admire whose advice you have featured in the book?
Spo, of course. Eric Spoelstra is in there. My coach, Leonard Bishop. We talk about some things like that. One of my good friends is Candace Parker. She's in Chicago now, getting ready for her season. But she's such a tremendous athlete and a person. And we were having a particular discussion one time just about, and really just a female player, what they have to go through. We were in Beijing, and the whole female team, after winning the squad, they have to go to their respective places to go start the season. Not in the States, not home. They're going to Russia. They're going to Spain from Beijing, China. And they just finished playing a whole summer. Or they'll finish the season in WNBA and then go right back to it. So they were summer spring, fall, winter. They're playing year round, and they don't even get the credit for that. That was just so inspiring to hear because, it's like, golly, Candace, man, you really, it just doesn't stop. It never stops. I know it doesn't stop for me, and I know how I feel. How do you feel? And just kind of, hearing her story and how she gets through that. I don't think she does it anymore. I don't think she plays in Europe anymore. But when she was, just, hearing those stories and how to actually get through that and be successful and still be the MVP and still compete for a championship in both leagues. That was tremendous. And of course, Pat Riley, he's always been a great motivator and mentor for me. And I had a discussion with him, kind of jumping back to the book thing. He was one of those encouragers too. He said, hey, we should write a book. And he said, yeah, you don't have to think about it now, but just think about it. This is what I did when I wrote my book, The Winner Within. I was going through this, and yeah, it's a good thing. You should check it out. And this was a casual lunch in Malibu. Yeah. I really didn't think anything of it, but he's always been, that person to really be an example. And he's one of my heroes. And you read the foreword too. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Turns out he's like a huge writer. He empathized with me quite a bit because his career, like mine, whether it was because of other people's opinion or professionally being able to withstand the athleticism that the new league was coming or whatever, his career just abruptly ended, just like mine. And, he is a writer as well. And he told me about his writing experiences and, he's got a few books out there and he's even wrote screenplays and stuff like that. So it gave me the openness to accept other things and say, well, okay, just get the wheels turning. Well, if I were to write a book, what would it be about? And, 2.5 year process, man.
Before you know it, 2.5 years later. Yeah.
2.5 years, but going and looking within to try and find those stories and those principles to what has made me me.
You mentioned Pat a few times. What do you think his superpower is or superpowers?
Motivation.
Yeah.
And excellence.
So a lot of people try to be motivating.
Yeah.
Right? So he's good at it.
He's good at it.
Why is he good at it?
The experience.
Yeah. Like, what's the experience?
He's got the experience. I think when you're in team sports for so long and you've seen every level, whether that's good or bad, and everything in between, I think you can kind of start collect things that work and things that don't work. Mm-hmm. And, in the NBA, you're around each other every day. And I'm sure there have been plenty of things that he said that didn't work.
Those get left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, that's okay. That's fine. And, but, his experience
He's like,
being...
crickets? Okay, we're going to cut that one from
I
the next
remember
speech.
that one. Yeah, they didn't care for that one in practice, so we'll, move on from it. But he's an extensive note taker. I know that. A voracious reader. And, talking to people. I think that's one of the biggest things, actually having that relationship and having those conversations and sitting down to talk with a person. Because if you come in just trying to be a motivator, why? You have to have a why in things that you do. And sometimes it can backfire. If you're trying too hard to be a motivator, it can come off as phony. And people are very smart. They can pick up on those things. Pat, he's always had that open door policy. He's always been one of those guys, you could just knock on his door and talk. It can be intimidating. A lot of people don't do it. It can be. It's like going to the principal's office sometimes, But he was always been open. I mean, many dinners, lunches, talking, dissecting the game, and he wants to be great. I think a lot of people can work on their appetite to be great, and that doesn't necessarily mean having a bunch of money or having a bunch of tremendous amount of success. That could be, man, I'm coming here, I'm being consistent, I'm working every day, I'm putting in the work, my mental preparation is good, I'm ready to carry out this task for this goal, having this unified goal and going after it. I think sometimes it's being as simple as that can be a tremendous help for a lot of people. But with Pat, once he identifies a goal, I mean, he goes after it passionately and wholeheartedly. And that's when you get into the teeth of it, when you're in the foxhole, that's when the passion comes out. You can't really motivate someone and you just met them or it's going good.
Yeah.
That's right naturally going. You want to motivate somebody when it's tough, and you have to be in there with them suffering.
Yeah. The shared
Not
privation.
not to be too dramatic, but you gotta take part in the suffering to get over the hump.
This is going to be a strange segue, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to strong arm this one. We'll probably go for just a few more questions.
Mhm.
True or false? I read that you are a fan of Leonardo da Vinci.
I am.
Okay. Please tell me more. Why? How did that come about?
I can't remember how it really happened. Of course, everybody knows the Mona Lisa and the famous inventions and things that he had. I got my hands on one of the books about his notebook,
Mm-hmm.
and I read it. It was amazing. I love Italy. We went to Rome. We took went to Rome pretty early in my career, around 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. And so the fascination was already there. I got to see the Colosseum, and I was already infatuated with those things, and I got to see that. One way or another, I start reading books. And I read the biography Walter Isaacson wrote.
Oh, that's great.
It's a good one. It's amazing. But I guess, you were kind of alluding to learning to learn and the pushing the human mind and all that stuff. I was just always fascinated by that. So naturally, he just became a person to, emulate.
The polymath of polymaths. I mean, there's the breadth of his fascination.
Yeah, it's just
Amazing.
fascinating.
and also, I know that you know this, but if you look at the entire pie chart, let's just say, of his completed works, or actually I should say his works,
Mhm.
and the percentage that were completed versus incomplete,
Mhm.
very high percentage incomplete.
For sure.
And,
And that's kind of as a perfect segue, actually. I kind of had to come to appreciate that because one could consider a lot of his unfinished work to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at my career because it was, in my opinion, it was unfinished. It's finished, but it was still an unfinished painting, in my opinion. And that kind of gave me a little confidence too. Like, yeah, he didn't even finish all his paintings. You guys,
that was
it's
Da Vinci people.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And, one of the cool things, me and my wife, we love to vacation. Getting to see those things in person. I mean, I'm an avid note taker and I doodle and draw and, have sketchbooks all over the place. So that was a natural connection right there. But then actually seeing the paintings, we saw the Mona Lisa in person. We saw the Last Supper in person, which they were so nice and gave us a private tour in Milan. And when you see it, have you seen it?
I have not.
It's bigger than the size of this wall. People can't see it, but I thought it was like more of a...
Yeah, arm to arm. And like Tim Ferriss arm to arm.
Man, that thing is huge. It's the whole side of a building. And it was just breathtaking and just got away. It's like, but seeing these relics and all of these things that still, stood the test of time and is still actually here today and just seeing that, it was very inspiring. I was always fascinated in the Renaissance, in the Renaissance period, and knowing that the houses were right down the street.
Yeah.
So you could go study under Michelangelo and be a sculptor.
Yeah.
And you could go under Da Vinci and be a painter. And it's all right there in this small little space outside of Florence or in Florence or whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, but just thinking of the density is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So it showed me that things are possible that you could do. It was just through his observation and extensive note taking and curiosity. I try to embody those things.
Yeah. And he had these incredible inventions. And part of the reason this is reasonably fresh on the mind is that I've interviewed Walter Isaacson a few times and interviewed him about his Da Vinci book. And some of his inventions were just these prescient, accurate predictors of the future, right? Like hundreds of years later.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were terrible. Like they never would have worked. And you would not want to be wearing his, mock-up for bird wings and jump off a cliff.
Right.
And I think that's also very inspiring in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he had these masterpieces that were masterpieces despite the fact that they were incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in some ways that makes them even all the more interesting. And he also had misfires, right? So it's like if Leo is allowed to have both of those, maybe we should be allowed to have those.
That's okay. We could have them.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I apologize if you've been asked this a million times, but I think for people listening, your story has many different points that can be inspiring. The one that I think everyone can identify with, certainly, is points in life when you realize that certain things are within your control and certain things are outside of your control. In fact, a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you had this pulmonary embolism, and for reasons or for causes perhaps partly known, partially unknown, that marked the beginning of an end of a career. Are there any particular books or resources or advice or anything that helped you through that period? I mean, what was it like emotionally when you realized, okay, I can't actually forestall this any longer? Like, this is it.
It happened in stages. I knew I wasn't going to play again for sure all the way when it's a player by the name of Gordon Hayward. He's still playing to this day, thank goodness. He dislocated his ankle. I hadn't played the year before, and I still had dreams and aspirations of playing in the NBA. And I mean, that took all the wind out of my sail. First game of the season, first 5 minutes of me watching that season, I was like, let me watch basketball. I'm going to get back into it because I'm playing this season. Somebody's going to pick me up. And that's a dislocated ankle. You know,
In that game.
I hadn't watched basketball in close to a year. First game that I watched, guy dislocates his ankle. And I mean, whatever motivation that I had instantly went away.
Huh.
And I said, oh man, that could be me. Oh boy, those workouts just weren't as intense after that. In the midst of figuring these things out, I can't remember what I read, but it was pretty much trusting everything that I read. And all of these books that say, find what you love to do. You gotta love it. And it sounds great until you're put in that position, right?
Yeah.
And so I found myself kind of asking, well, what do I love to do? Basketball. Okay, what else? I had to answer that question. I didn't know anything else. And I had to deal with the preconceived notion that I guess people think I'm smart, which is great. Like, oh, Chris, you'll be fine. You'll figure it out. But in that moment, you
still
know,
have to figure it
yeah,
out.
you still have to figure it out. And so I found myself sitting around, okay, let me answer this question. What else do I love doing? And that's where music came in. And I always wanted to learn how to play an instrument. It was one of those things where I gave up like 2 or 3 times in my teens and 20s. So I said, man, you know what? This time I'm going to pick it up and I'm not going to put it down and I'm going to learn how to play. I'm going to learn how to play an instrument.
Which instrument?
The guitar. I started with the guitar.
Let me ask a really naive question. I'm just looking at the size of your hands compared to my hands. Is it harder for you to form chords on a standard guitar?
Yeah, it is a little.
All right.
Right. The things you have to, but you got to figure it out.
I'm thinking maybe bass. All right.
I recently, which is the same, not chord structure, but it's the same string patterns and everything. The notes, it's all the same system. So, you know, yeah, I've recently gotten into bass in the last few weeks and months. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, man. And I said, man, I never stopped. Does it make any sense? Of course it doesn't make any sense, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I was watching the Rolling Stones was on TV playing. They're
Doesn't need to make sense.
well into their life and they're still doing shows. I said, I want to do that. I do that for free. And then I found myself, my wife and I, we were already avid music lovers and stuff like that. We cranked it up a notch. We went to rock festivals, went to Coachella, Glastonbury, Bonnaroo, going to see certain shows, you know, meeting all of these cool musicians and just doing something different. And I mean, it was amazing. And I started getting magical feelings and those things, that magic that you want to pursue. It didn't make any sense at the time. I just knew it felt good. And so that opened up a new world of possibility to me. And, you know, I started making more friends, making great connections. Music is one of those things that really do bring people together. And it's a live element to it. It's a recorded element to it. It's just all these different elements that you could put together or keep separate and just really enjoy it. And so then I found myself, you know, okay, playing the guitar. Then I wanted to make beats. Then it just went out to full-fledged productions and writing sessions and stuff like that. But continuing to go on and meeting great people. Rico Love is a great friend of mine. Miguel, the artist Miguel, is a great friend of mine. Meeting Billy Corbin, meeting Collective Soul, having, beers after their show, and just hanging out. There's some Atlanta, Georgia boys, we're connecting with so many different people in so many different ways was really, really cool. And especially here in Austin, it's been great. Gary Clark, we met him a few years ago, but I was just so enamored by how they could play the guitar, man, and just do all these cool things. So that's just really been a thing that has actually turned into something, but has been great for the spirit.
What would you, aside from trying to find the thing that lights you up inside, because I'm sure you had some dark moments too, I would imagine.
For sure.
For someone who's going through an experience like that, maybe there's something they had planned that they no longer can pursue.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they had a career or a relationship or something end, and now they just feel this void and they just feel directionless, not necessarily hopeless, but just really unsure of what to do. What advice might you give them, or what would you say to them?
Be open. I spoke with a friend, I won't name who they are. I was having one of those days, right? Just in the dumps, and I was taking this trip, and I was doing some work, and this particular person was running a network and running a company, the CEO. And, I was feeling all bad and stuff. And I said, man, how do you know? It's a brilliant person. I want to get some insight. The first thing that person said was, well, I was a child with cancer. And when you really do go through a situation to where you're going to wear hair or no hair, you truly do find out that it is up on you to make a choice to enjoy it or be happy or attempt to get yourself going. And when they said that, I was like, man, all these problems that I feel that I have, and this person just told me they were a kid with cancer. So that kind of made me realize, like, okay, put everything to the side. This person just told me that it is really our choice. Not necessarily that bad things won't happen, or life won't throw curveballs, or things happen, or you won't be in a rut. It's just that when you're in this rut, it's on you to get out of it and to actually have confidence. Now, people can help you, but one of the things that we always said in basketball, if you were like on a shitty team, one of the worst experiences to have, because you're losing and then you're feeling bad inside, but then you're making money and it's good money and people are like, oh, you're fine, which
Yeah.
it's like this paradox. But like we always used to say, hey, look, nobody's coming through that door. If you're waiting on that perfect person or that perfect utopian moment to come, it's not. You got to start putting the work in now. Pick yourself up. Self-motivation, right?
Yeah.
You got to get yourself going, and then you'd be surprised. Things start happening.
Yeah.
But you can't sit in the bed feeling sorry for yourself. That's like one of the toughest things to do. Sorry with all these basketball analogies, but
I think it's fair.
5-game losing streak. One of the hardest things to do is to bounce back and actually win a game, because it's hard. Start watching basketball. Watch a bad team play. They have a chance to win the game. They're in the game. One bad thing will happen, and they just, the body language, the shoulders start slouching. People start, no, keep playing. Yeah, okay, you know, it's a couple things that hurt, or it's a couple things that, hell, it sucks. Let's get that out the way. It sucks right now, but we're not going to no pity parties. Yeah. That becomes being old very fast. And you do see success. That's not going to take away the challenges. You're still going to be faced with challenges daily. But if you get into the mindset to where you say, okay, hey, problem solution, look in the mirror. What am I going to do right now? Because I'm going to stop feeling sorry for myself, because it's so easy, right? You could just, oh man, the coach, they did it. Oh man, after a while, it gets old. Yeah. And I assume if someone's listening to this now, even if they're in a place where they don't want to be and frustrated with it, it's a daily grind, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. You got to make that decision, start focusing, start visualizing, and start working toward that goal. And know, just because you had this moment of thought and say, okay, I'm going for it, the seas aren't going to part. Yeah. It's just not going to just open up for you and say, okay, Chris, great. Yeah, this is what you wanted. Why did you ask? It's not like that. You've got to be consistent, be diligent, and just know that the challenge is going to come. And when these things arise again, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. We're going to win this game, even when it gets hard. And then we're going to do it again and again and again and again. And just, get to that point.
That's a great story. When you had when you had that conversation with this, I guess, network exec,
Mm-hmm.
do you recall what the next thing was that you did when you were like, oh, wow, okay, that puts things in perspective?
I stopped complaining.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't know I was complaining, but I heard myself. I heard my language. Sometimes you got to listen to yourself. And this was me after me promising myself that I wouldn't complain after I came from Africa. I went to Africa. We went to Joburg. We went out to Climptown and Soweto and saw real poverty.
Yeah.
Went to India, speaking of being the NBA Global Ambassador. We went to places and we have seen real poverty, that make the projects look like a 5-star hotel. And so when I saw those things and you take in all that stuff, it's like, man, it's heavy.
Yeah.
What have I been complaining about? I haven't been complaining. I've been complaining a little bit. When she said that, I instantly stopped feeling sorry for myself and said, okay, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
13 years in the league, and I've got a shot at doing something else. That's all I need. I don't need like I say, that leader to come by and say, no, Chris, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Kick the door in and just get me going. That right there was kind of like, oh man, I felt bad, for even having not points of weakness, but just like having those thoughts and just saying, like, what do people say if you think you've got problems? Well, everybody put their problems on the table. You'll pick yours back up real quick.
Never heard that. That's great.
It's that's pretty much what it was. Like, okay, I got some problems, but man, okay.
I'll take those back.
Wasn't that bad. How you feeling? Fine. I'm doing great.
I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. It's so easy to complain. And I feel like I've been complaining a lot in the last handful of weeks, and it's socially reinforced. You will find somebody, if you go searching, who's going to encourage you. Oh yeah, you're right to feel that way. Oh, that's terrible.
And then how do you feel, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you're doing it? And that's for people listening too, and make you look at who's around you a little more.
Yeah.
And it's because it's like, yeah, it's tough and it sucks and it's been like that for years, but aren't you tired of it?
Yeah.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Yeah.
Right? After a while, it's not going to change.
Yeah.
These habits that you're building, you got to think about the habits that you're building. And I tell people too, be conscious of what you're consuming, especially nowadays. I tell my kids that. I try to, even for myself, just with everything you can consume, it's a lot of BS.
Yeah.
So just be aware of what you're putting into your mind, what you're thinking about. And yeah, birds like a feather, right? If you find yourself complaining, and people, like I say, you can have pity party, but after a while, they're going to get tired of you complaining. They're going to be complaining about you.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
it just, you just get to a point where it's like, okay, hey man, let's talk about solutions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about solutions. How do we get out of this rut, or how do we find that next thing to do? For me, music and writing, I would have looked at you like you had 8 heads 5-6 years ago. Music, maybe 5 years ago. Not so much writing.
Yeah.
I always did them, but just thinking of that, I wouldn't have even come close at that time. But going through challenges and situations, you want to come out better, right? You don't want to still be holed up talking about what could have been or why it didn't happen. That gets old after a while.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if Chris Bosh can have these days, you can too, but it's about what you actually do in response to those days.
Response, man.
And, a long time ago, you're inspiring me. I'm going to do it again. I read a short book. It was called The 21-Day No Complaint Experiment, written by a pastor. Will Bowman, I think, is the name. And it's just a commitment to not complain for 21 days.
I like that.
And it had a huge impact.
I got to read that.
And I'm going to do that because, like you said, if you were to put your problems on the table with even a small subset of humankind, you'd be like, I'll take those back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. No, nobody
Absolutely.
take my problem cookies. I want those. I'm going home with those.
Yeah.
And it really does make a tremendous difference. And I think that Letters to a Young Athlete is going to do a lot of good. I'm very excited about this. I am thrilled you took the time to do it properly. 2.5 years. When I hear people like, yeah, we started writing and 3 months later we were done. I was like, don't send it to me.
And hey, look, Would I have preferred it to be one and a half? Sure. We had the intention, but the process is the process, right?
The process is the process.
You go through, and we've been hands-on from the jump. This has been so special to me. But it's like I was joking the other day. You said in writing about a book, Overcoming Obstacles, we had to overcome obstacles writing the book. That was a good one, man. And it was a tremendous process. And I think a lot of people will really, really be able to take something for themselves, no matter what they do. They'll be able to take something for themselves because, it's been a team effort through and through. It's been one of those things to where I'm talking about people that I admire and situations that I admire from my own life that was like, oh yeah, in the moment you're just doing it, but then reflecting on it, it's like, oh yeah, that conversation that I had with my coach back when I was 21, that was
set off these ripple effects.
That set off the ripple effects so I wouldn't freak out.
Yeah. It makes me happy you took the time. I remember somebody said to me at one point, I was struggling, as I do with any writing, and I was struggling through a book, and they said, oh, you're 90% done. Congratulations, you only have 50% left. And I was like, oh.
90% done, 50% left. Like, wait a minute.
They're like, oh,
trust
trust
me.
Math, and
man.
They're like, yeah, you'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean.
No, that's great.
And I think, athlete is an interesting term, and letters to a young athlete, you might even say letters to a young competitor, and people might be inclined to say, well, I'm not a competitor. And I would say, you are, even if you don't compete with other people, there's a competition, like we've been discussing, between your lesser selves and your better selves.
Absolutely. That ego, man.
We're all in the game.
Everybody's in there. And it's like I said, giving you the tools and teamwork is definitely one of the main tools. Of course, mental preparation, self-motivation, getting yourself ready and going, but teamwork, working with others, learning how to coexist with people going after that goal.
Definitely.
I think that's a huge, huge important thing that we definitely talk about, because going to Miami, playing with the best two players in the world. So my ego had to take a back seat. I came in thinking I was going to be the number one scorer in the league. Definitely in Miami, only because I said, man, they can score, but I can score too, and they're going to be making plays for me. That was in my head, but the math doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn how to coexist within this structure, being the third peg on the stool. Nothing wrong with that, but fighting that notion that actually means something, putting the team before yourself, and, making those tough decisions that you have to make because it doesn't feel good, but the team gets it done. So, hey, Chris, you need to play the center, guard these bigger dudes because you're the only one that can do it. Rebound the ball and get it to these guys. Like, no. I want to score. You give me the ball. No. Spo, you must have it wrong. You get me the ball and everybody else get out the way. That's how we did it. And it's not necessarily the case if you want to be successful. So that's like always kind of a thing that I always took very importantly and took to heart. If you're going after a championship or legacy or greatness or something like that, and you're part of a team, the team has to come before the person, and what's best for the team, might not be best for your ego sometimes, and you have to be okay with that. And you got to tell your ego, take the back seat, let yourself take the back seat. We're going to be champions, man.
Yeah, sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, man.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And
together, man.
Chris Bosh, at Chris Bosh on Twitter, also on Instagram at Chris Bosh, official Chris Bosh on Facebook. The new book is Letters to a Young Athlete. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's so nice to meet you.
Same here. Nice meeting you, man.
And
great.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience? Any other requests, comments, questions, anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Oh man, I just love starting a discussion. I think that's what the future is really going to be about. So I want this book to be a discussion, and really, all books, and just be a civilized discussion where we can see where each other's coming from. Because I think nowadays, things get polarized and kind of either taken out of context or being too much. I want everyone to know how important this book is to me. But with that said, we want to start the conversation of how to be great, breaking those things down, how to constantly get over those challenges, like I keep alluding to, that are coming, and to have those open discussions and just continue to push the boundaries in a positive, great way. But let everybody know they can do it. If they have that thing, do it. Don't wait, and you can do it.
Look in the mirror. Don't complain.
Man, problem and solution. Look in the mirror.
Problem and Solution. Letters to a Young Athlete is the book, and I'm excited for you. It's a big accomplishment. I know how much effort goes into it, and I'm thrilled that people will get to learn also the principles. Right, you'll have stories, but also the principles that you've applied, not just to one thing, but to many things. Even though you are best known for one thing. And I think, in a way, the obstacles that you've faced within the context of a book like this are a tremendous gift, because there are battles everyone is fighting that we know nothing about. You've had to face and overcome obstacles yourself, and I think that is incredibly humanizing also.
No, absolutely. And that's what, I like to call the pillars of getting through things, the pillars of success. That's kind of like my work entitled for it, is perseverance, mental preparation, rising to the occasion. Teamwork is a huge of them. Visualization is a huge, because I feel in my life, everything that's happened, I always saw it in my mind's eye first and did hours and hours and hours of imagining. And, then it's time to put in the work after that. And you can't just sit there and dream about it. You just got to go out there and do it. And, work, be calculated. Of course, you just can't go out there with no goal and just run around like a chicken with your head cut off. But you can identify that goal and then work backwards and say, okay, what do I need to do? And work hard at those things.
Yeah. One step at a time. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, man. I'm so glad to be on here. It's great. I've been listening for years, and it's great to be on here.
Oh, well,
really cool. I hope it fits.
Yeah, it does fit. It's great to spend some time together. And for everybody listening, we will have links to everything, including Letters to a Young Athlete, in the show notes at tim.blog/podcast. Easy to find. And until next time, thank you for tuning in.
Hey guys, this is Tim again. Just a few more things before you take off. Number one, this is 5 Bullet Friday. Do you want to get a short email from me? Would you enjoy getting a short email from me every Friday that provides a little morsel of fun before the weekend? And 5 Bullet Friday is a very short email where I share the coolest things I've found or that I've been pondering over the week. That could include favorite new albums that I've discovered. It could include gizmos and gadgets and all sorts of weird shit that I've somehow dug up in the world of the esoteric as I do. It could include favorite articles that I've read and that I've shared with my close friends, for instance. And it's very short. It's just a little tiny bite of goodness before you head off for the weekend. So if you want to receive that, check it out. Just go to 4hourworkweek.com. That's 4hourworkweek.com, all spelled out, and just drop in your email and you will get the very next one. And if you sign up, I hope you enjoy it. This episode is brought to you by Theragun. I have 2 Theraguns, and they are worth their weight in gold. I've been using them every single day. Whether you're an elite athlete or just a regular person trying to get through your day, muscle pain and muscle tension are real things. That's why I use the Theragun. I use it at night. I use it after workouts. It is a handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension. So for instance, at night, I might use it on the bottom of my feet. It's helped with my plantar fasciitis. I will have my girlfriend use it up and down the middle of my back, and I'll use it on her. It's an easy way for us to actually trade massages in effect. And you can think of it, in fact, as massage reinvented on some level. Helps with performance, helps with recovery, helps with just getting your back to feel better before bed after you've been sitting for way too many hours. I love this thing. And the all-new Gen 4 Theragun has a proprietary brushless motor that is surprisingly quiet. It's easy to use and about as quiet as an electric toothbrush. It's pretty astonishing. You really have to feel the Theragun's signature power, amplitude, and effectiveness to believe it. It's one of my favorite gadgets in my house at this point. So I encourage you to check it out. Try Theragun. That's Thera, Theragun. There's no substitute for the Gen 4 Theragun with an OLED screen. That's OLED, for those wondering. That's organic light-emitting diode screen, personalized Theragun app, and an incredible combination of quiet and power. So go to Theragun.com/Tim right now and get your Gen 4 Theragun today. Or you can watch the videos on the site, which show you all sorts of different ways to use it. A lot of runner friends of mine use them on their IT bands after long runs. There are a million ways to use it. And the Gen 4 Theraguns start at just $199. I said I have two. I have the Prime, and I also have the Pro, which is like the super Cadillac version. My girlfriend loves the soft attachments on that. So check it out. Go to Theragun.com/Tim. One more time, Theragun.com/Tim. This episode is brought to you by Tonal. That's Tonal. Tonal is the world's most intelligent home gym and personal trainer. That's the tagline from their website, folks. So it gives you the one-sentence summary. By eliminating traditional metal weights, Tonal can deliver 200 pounds of resistance in a device smaller than a flat-screen TV. It mounts right on your wall with no floor space required. I've had one for a few months now after a number of close friends recommended Tonal to me, and it allows me to do things that I would normally need a huge gym for, like cable, chop and lift, or rotational exercises, and it allows me to do other things that are nearly impossible otherwise, like eccentric loading, which I'll talk about again later. Tonal is precision engineered and designed to be the world's most advanced strength studio and personal trainer. It uses breakthrough technology like adaptive digital weights and AI learning together with the best experts in resistance training so you can get stronger faster. One of my friends who used to be a competitive skier, very high-level competitive skier, has doubled his strength in many exercises over a period of months. So what are these adaptive digital weights? Tonal's patented digital weight system makes thousands of calculations a second to deliver you a smooth weightlifting experience using their advanced electronic motor technology. And a lot of the buttons are built right into the handles themselves, into the grips, so you don't need to move around, and it is extremely easy to use. Tonal lets you adjust the weight in 1 pound increments, and you can do it on the fly, something that was never possible with traditional dumbbells. It's easy to dial weights up and down with just the touch of a button. Tonal also has built-in dynamic weight modes, like chains, eccentric, and their patent-pending SmartFlex technology. So you can experiment with more ways to get stronger faster without the hassle of extra equipment like chains and bands. The eccentrics, which I mentioned, means that you can set a mode that allows you to say, just as an example, bicep curl 15 pounds up and then lower automatically 25 pounds down. And it is incredible how much you can get done in just a handful of minutes when you use this type of technology. So check it out. Try Tonal, Tonal, the world's smartest home gym, for 30 days in your home. And if you don't love it, you can return it for a full refund. Visit www.tonal.com, Tonal.com, and for a limited time, get $100 off of smart accessories when you use promo code TIM21. Like I'm ready for my first drink at checkout. That's www.tonal.com, promo code TIM21, TIM21. Tonal, be your strongest.